I met him first in my lower sixth year, and I went to him a couple of times, just for because he was a health and well-being officer. I went for, some medical issues, and then I got talking to him, and he seemed like a nice person to talk to. And then I went to him a couple times, and then in my upper sixth year, I started to go more regularly, like once a week or a couple times a week, almost every day at one point. Um, and I talked to him about my issues because he was a good person to talk to for that. Um, and then he would hug me like every time I would go to him, even if it wasn't for a comforting reason. Um, and that was a little weird, but I didn't realize that at the time. And then there was an incident where he had tickled me, um, which is where I started to feel like this was a little weird and a bit off. So I started to see him less and less. And then it came out in the news in the January of the next year, and that's whenever I reported it. I don't think that it'll give closure. Um, I think it'll be good to know that he can't do this again and that, he's not able to hurt anyone else, but it's not, it's justice, but it's not closure. Um, because this is gonna affect me for the rest of my life. Um, just because of how selfish and how disgusting of a man he was.
It's very painful to watch your daughter suffer, and I suppose some of the things that come to mind are the fact that she feels guilty for not coming forward or realizing sooner, and more younger girls were then abused, and also to see her own life plans as a young student being upset and having to miss her first year of university, and then the trial starts in her first month of university, and it's all been very destabilizing. And to see the change in her behavior and her mood and being withdrawn, and her, as she says, her reactions to men and her reactions to being touched or hugged, that's very painful to watch. Like, you send your children to school and you trust that they're in a safe place, and you trust that there are all these rules and regulations and checks and balances to make sure that there aren't sexual predators in schools, that that the schools check who they're employing, that Access NI carry out criminal record checks. And I suppose one of the most shocking things for us as a family to learn is that actually Beckett had previously been interviewed under caution back in 2020 for sexually assaulting a cadet, but yet a year later in 2021, he gets a job in Lagan College as a health and well-being officer with direct and individual access to children. And he used that platform, that forum, to actually abuse more girls, a dozen more girls. Not all of them came forward to the court, but there was over a dozen girls that he abused at Lagan College.
He was not remorseful. He did prey on vulnerable girls. Most of the girls that we dealt with in relation to Lagan did have vulnerabilities, whether it's their mental health, whether it was autism, they were circulated on a list around the school for that reason. And, he was the health and welfare officer. The girls went to this office trusting the man that was there. And what I've heard, what I've read, their video evidence. This man hugged these females. He abused them. So and that is what he preyed on. He preyed on vulnerable girls.